Hey Candeo kids, we miss you. My name is Drew. If you haven't met me, I help out back here in Candeo Kids every week, and Sundays just aren't as fun without you guys here, but we can still learn from your home. So before we do that, if you've ever been in one of my classrooms, you know I love to get the brain juices flowing. So what I need you to do is I need you to stand up, yep, even in your living room, stand up. What I want you to do is I want you to stretch your arms so high up in the air that you're going to touch the sky. Yep, all the way up, and now bring them all the way down to touch the floor. Remember, we're getting our brain juices flowing so that we can learn about God today from our living rooms. And now stand up, and I want you to wiggle it out. Wiggle out your arms, wiggle out your legs, run your neck around a little bit. All right, we ready? Now take a seat. There you go. Deep breath. Now, do you remember the name of this man? His name is Abraham, and God made a promise to Abraham that he would make his descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky. Do you know how many that is? I don't think we can count that high. Now, Abraham only had one son. His name was Isaac. And Isaac got the same promise from God that he gave to Abraham. He would make his descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky. But Isaac was Abraham's only son. So how on earth would God fulfill his promise? Well, we're going to learn about that this week in our video. So watch this video and be prepared to answer some questions afterwards with your family about it.
Isaac, Abraham's son, married Rebekah when he was 40 years old. For 20 years, they did not have any children, so Isaac prayed to God for help. God answered Isaac's prayer, and Rebekah became pregnant with twins. The two babies fought inside of Rebekah, and she worried about why this was happening. Rebekah asked God about the unusual behavior of the babies. The Lord spoke to Rebekah and told her part of his special plan for the two babies. He said, "Two people will come from you and be separated. One of the two groups of people would be stronger than the other." God also told her, "The older will serve the younger." This was not what usually happened in a family, but this was part of God's plan for Abraham's family. Rebekah had two boys. The first baby boy was red-looking and hairy, and they named him Esau. The younger boy was born holding on to his older brother Esau's heel, and they named him Jacob. Later, the land where Isaac and his family lived had a famine. Isaac went to Gerar, where God appeared to give him a special message. God told Isaac, "Do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land that I tell you about. Stay in this land as a foreigner, and I will be with you and bless you." God also shared with Isaac the special covenant God had made with Abraham. "I will give all these lands to you and your offspring. I will make your offspring as numerous as the stars in the sky. All the nations of the earth will be blessed by your offspring, because Abraham listened to my voice and kept my mandate." Isaac obeyed God and stayed in the land of Gerar. Many years later, Isaac and Rebekah's son Jacob sinned and had to leave his family to stay safe. Jacob was the son that God said would be the leader of their family, even though he was the youngest son. On his way to his uncle Laban's house, Jacob stopped at night to sleep. Jacob took a stone and used it as a pillow under his head. While he slept, he had a dream. And in his dream, he saw a stairway coming down from heaven to the ground. There were angels going up and down the stairs. Then Jacob saw God, who spoke to him. "I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your offspring the land that you are now sleeping on." The covenant God made with Abraham, God now gave to Abraham's grandson Jacob. God told Jacob his family would be like the dust of the earth. They would spread out in all directions, and all the people on earth would be blessed because of his family. God promised Jacob, I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go. I will bring you back to this land. Jacob awoke and said, surely the Lord is in this place. What an awesome place this is. Early the next morning, as a way to remember the place where God had shared his plan with him, Jacob took the stone under his head and poured oil over it. He renamed the place Bethel. Jacob made a vow that because God kept his promise to him, Jacob would follow and honor God. God's wonderful plan to Abraham extended well beyond his lifetime. The plan was shared with Rebekah, Isaac, Jacob, and eventually an entire nation, leading to the birth of a baby boy named Jesus. Jesus fulfilled God's plan to provide salvation and redemption for all God's people.
Wow, wasn't that video awesome? So now we know that the promise that God first made to Abraham is now on to his grandson Jacob. Now here's a few questions for you to answer with your family. The first one, Abraham's son was named Isaac, but in the video you saw Isaac had 2 sons. What were their names? Take some time with your families to discuss this. Hopefully, as a family, you came to the conclusion that Isaac had 2 sons, Jacob and Esau. Now on to the next question. What was the special promise that God made to Abraham, and then again to Isaac, and then again to Jacob? Now, spend some time with your family to discuss this. Hopefully, in your families, you discussed that God would make their descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, as well as the whole world would be blessed through their family. The third question from our video is this. What was the vision that God gave Isaac's youngest son, Jacob? Take some time in your families to discuss this question. In your families, you might have talked about Jacob's vision of a stairway to heaven with angels going up and down that stairway. Jacob also saw God himself, who promised the same thing that he did to Jacob's dad, Isaac, and his grandpa, Abraham, that his descendants would be how many? As many as the stars in the sky. Our last question to talk with your families is this. How is the whole world blessed through Abraham's family? Jesus, who was a descendant of Abraham, came to fulfill God's plan to provide salvation for the whole world by hanging on the cross and dying for our sins. God's promise to Abraham to bless the whole wide world was fulfilled in Jesus. Guys, thanks so much for letting us hang out in your living room. How cool is that? Thanks again this week for hanging out with us, kids. Reminder, next week we're going to be doing the same thing together, learning about God in our living rooms.